It's the last episode of Abysmus Christmas on the Bionicle Inspiration Series, the show where we spotlight mocks from across the community to inspire you. And in the month of December, we've been doing something a little bit extra special as my gift to you. We've been spotlighting your mocks. So whatever you've submitted to the fan-submitted email that's currently on your screen will be featured in these extra special, extra episodes of the Bionicle Inspiration Series. But just because this is the last episode doesn't mean you can't keep submitting your mocks, and it doesn't mean they won't be featured in other episodes of the show. So don't be afraid, keep submitting your mocks. Anyway, let's begin with the very first fan-submitted mock today, and it is by Matt Goldberg, and it's called Death Monga the Defiler. There's such a unique aesthetic on this mock. The idea of decking it out with lots of white elements that resemble bones is both a little bit creepy, but also a little bit innovative and different. So what have we got here? We've got minifigure skulls all throughout the scythe's hilt. This is a simple but very effective way of decorating it a little bit more. Then we've got minifigure skeleton bodies on the knees here, working as some cool little knee pads. They appear to just be strapped on with chains. I don't think there's any actual connection there inherently. Then we've got a crown above this gold skull mask, which also looks like it's made of bones. Plus he's got bones for the hands. There's also the shoulder pads and some additional armor on the torso. It's all bones. But if we just pay attention to the minifigure skulls and the minifigure bodies from minifigure skeletons, I love that just by owning a few minifigure skeletons, it's enough to add a nice enough level of skull-themed decoration. Yes, the other pieces, use additional elements like Rakshi heads or the Exoforce robot arm pieces in white, and hey, they look great. But let's say you don't really have many white pieces to be able to do something like this. Well, if you only have a few minifigure skeletons, then you can basically get the job done, as we can see here. Now, if you don't have any minifigure skeletons, the Hocus Pocus set that came out decently recently, it came with 3 of those minifigure skeletons. Maybe that's a little bit of an expensive set, although I have seen it on sale recently. But if you just want to go on Bricklink and buy a few skeletons, they're like $2 each, which for a minifigure is actually quite cheap. Normally, they're about like $4 or $5 each as a minimum, so it's a pretty good price for them there. So hey, even with just a few minifigure skeletons, you can achieve a pretty unique and creepy aesthetic. Ultra Preston Stormer Revamp is up next, and this is built by Prof Sir 1. Now, given that this is just a big and more armored up version of Stormer, it reminds me a little bit of a set that I really enjoyed, Stormer XL. Now, all of the Exoforce sets, well, not all of them, but a good whack of them, had an XL version, which was really just like a bigger version of the character, and they were covered in a lot more armor and made to look way cooler, and some of them even had like capes and stuff. It was a cool idea. But, to me, that's kind of what this mock is. It's gone over the top and it's just covered with all sorts of cool stuff. Why don't we throw a jetpack with flames coming out of Stormer? Done. Let's give him like a big old sword. Sounds good. We need to armor up the back. Why don't we shove some feet pieces on the back and it gets the job done? Nailed it. Why not give him a shield? You know what? Let's give him a huge shield. Bing, bang, boom. There's something surprisingly nice about that, isn't it? I often talk about tiny changes or little few additions on a mock and how much they can actually add to the design. Little stuff can do a lot. But I think the reverse is also true. Throw everything on it and just see what works. It's a good idea. Horizon Lancers by Will Kessler is up next, and I love this. This reminds me of the set Pharaoh and Skirmix, a rider and their steed roaming through the wastelands. There's something awesome about that aesthetic, so it's great to see a mock that is kind of tapping into this in some fashion, and it just makes it look incredible. My favorite inclusion is a couple little brown pieces on the beast. It's made to look like it's a saddle for the rider to sit on, but the best addition is the brown thing at the back. Now, this is attached with a ball joint, and you can just sort of pop it off, and bam, you've got yourself a little sack or a satchel to be putting supplies in when you travel. I think the fact that this attaches on with a ball joint is also really fun. It's a good, solid, sturdy connection, so it's on there tight, but then you can just pop it off and suddenly you can start playing with it. Honestly, that sounds like such a fun thing to play with. If that exact thing was included on an actual official Lego set, I know I'd be playing with that quite a fair bit. The upper leg design on this beast is also really cool. It's using this larger silver shield piece here to create a really solid and compact looking leg design. Partnering that up with all the other pieces that are around it, it's just beautiful. Also, these scattered olive green plant pieces just on the floor at the base of the mock. I've seen those pieces on the Pick-a-Brick wall quite a lot recently, and I imagine Will just bought a Pick-a-Brick cup recently and put some of those pieces in there and decided just to kind of lay them around the mock in an interesting fashion so that there's just something cool on the floor while it's being photographed. And honestly, I think that's such a great touch. And hey, maybe next time you build a Lego creation, go to the Lego store beforehand, get a Pick-a-Brick cup, get some plant pieces and pour them around the base of the mock, because a little bit of decoration, a little bit of context like this, it just adds so much. It instantly puts this mock into a larger world, and you start to kind of fill in the gaps and imagine how this thing moves, where it lives, what it does. It's like I said before, a little thing can do so much. Even if the pieces aren't actually connected to anything, they're just scattered on the floor, it works. This next mock is called Ned Cosi, and it's built by Drowned. Now, let it be known, I put a call out last episode asking people to comment if I hadn't featured their mock yet, and so a few people did, and I made sure to put their mocks in these episodes because they were respectful and they were kind, and so I thought, hey, as a Christmas present, I'll put your stuff in. But I definitely didn't feature this because it was inspired by me. Flattery will not get you anywhere with submissions. Still, I'll read the meaning behind this mock that was detailed in the email. They said the following: Ned Cosi, because drowned, drown Ned, drowned obviously being their name, and then it's you, Ben Cossy, so Ned Cosi. That's what they'd written. I get it. Makes sense. Still a little confused, but it makes sense. Anyway, I love the bright green and the trans green additions to the color scheme. So, my versions of myself, Mark Cossy, they're normally just black and blue, but hey, a few additions like this, it looks pretty good. I also enjoy the electricity coming out of the back. It kind of looks like there's some kind of like high-powered engine that's like strapped to the back and electricity just shoots out at any time. It's a fun idea. And also there's a little bit of electricity on the weapon, which is also pretty cool. So yeah, it's a great little build and a nice reimagining of myself, Mock. Thank you, good sir. Krampus is up next, and it's built by Lawen. So let me read what was written on the email, the submission email for this, because it might shed a little bit of light on Krampus if you're not familiar with who they are. So they said the following: Krampus is a creature from Austrian folklore. It's described as a goat-like demonic figure who kidnaps the bad children in early December to beat them with his metal chain. Despite the darker origins of Krampus, he is just as beloved as any other Christmas-related character in my home country of Austria. There are even special Krampus parades where people dress up as the festive monster. They went on to say that when designing this mock, they wanted to lean into the idea of Krampus being Santa's evil twin, and therefore gave him a dark red coat, similar to the one that Santa Claus is said to wear, and the Lego Chima Ultra Build fur element that's on the chest that could be viewed as a beard. Solid execution, it looks exactly like that. But yeah, Krampus, a little creepy, but hey, I like that. It's a little bit refreshing to have a more horrifying take on a Christmas-themed creation, because oftentimes you do see Christmas-themed mocks as just someone building Santa Claus or a nice Christmas tree or something, so this one's a little bit refreshing and different, which is nice. I like that they adapted the head design from the Bionicle G2 set Lava Beasts, because yeah, as a good call, it works very well for a demonic figure like this, and giving them the huge, larger horns there was the perfect addition. Now, they mentioned before the dark red coat. Well, I think dark red specifically was a very good choice, because typically when you see Santa, especially in like minifigure form, he's that normal Lego red. So the slightly darker shade of red, it certainly fits more in line with the horror theme that is certainly present on Krampus. Tangu is up next, and it's built by Joxon. So in classic Joxon style, they've used pieces in some incredibly creative and very clever ways that they certainly weren't intended to be used for. So we've got this large marbled red and white piece, and we've also got some blades on the feet that are the same color. Both of these appear in the awesome Baraki set Prydak. And man, it's really cool to see them use that Prydak headpiece, but just spam it all over the entire mock here. But each time they use this piece, it's used in a different way, and it fits the overall design perfectly. There's something very nice about seeing the same piece being used for multiple different purposes, but each purpose feels just as good as the other purpose. Nothing feels out of place, or nothing feels forced as well. It's all so natural and fitting. So there's two of these Prydak headpieces forming chest armor up the top. It just looks so awesome. Placing them so close to each other, they start to look a little bit less like the headpiece and start to become this new shape almost. How cool is that two pieces placed on their sides like that suddenly start to look like something totally different? That's just, I love that about Lego. Then it's nice to see that the ones on the hands look a bit more like blades, and then the ones on the knees, the natural curvature of this mask really lends itself to the actual curvature of the leg design and how it leads into the foot as well. So cool. So yeah, if you have an abnormally large number of the exact same piece, maybe you could do something very similar to this mock. As you can see, it's gonna look pretty awesome. The next mock now is Meltdown, and this is by Lil Swizzy03. So a revamp of the classic original Hero Factory character, Meltdown. Now we can see they've added a little something a bit different to the head design. They've added one of these round 1x2 plates, and they've just put it behind the eye there. This is a bit fun. It looks a little bit like some sort of cybernetically enhanced eye, or maybe it isn't that, and instead it could just be like an eyebrow of sorts. But either way, a subtle little tiny detail like that, it's always a good addition. Otherwise, we've got a lot of spikes and a lot of other sharp weaponry that's been added here. This is a cute little revamp of Meltdown. This next mock's a bit of a different one. It's called Happy Holidays from the Hero Factory, and it's by The Jam. Now, this is fun. It's lovely to see a bunch of the builders' mocks together in one photo, and, they've got that modern Christmas tree set there on display, and under it there's a few different presents for their mocks, and they've also got this photo of some villains with some coal. I love it. It's fun. It reminds me of the old Mock Pages days when the Bionicle community that was active on the now dead website Mock Pages, they would post pretty similar stuff to this. I remember making some myself actually, I think on Christmas Day, but also on different people's birthdays as well. Basically, it would be my self-mock giving out presents to the self-mocks of my friends, and I'd sort of turned it into this kind of like fun little webcomic thing, and it was an enjoyable experience back in the day. So this is a nice reminder that, you can totally photograph your mocks together in a fun way to celebrate Christmas, and it's kind of potentially even a nice way to bond with other friends in the Bionicle community. If you build their self-mock or some of their other mocks and have your mocks giving them presents or something, it's just an interesting way to engage in the community. So, there's still time. Why not take out your Bionicle mocks and build some presents for them, take a few photos, post it online, and it's all in good fun. And it's also a great way to make some LEGO-related memories without actually having to build something as well. Something to consider anyway. And this is a nice little throwback for me. I hope you enjoyed seeing it as well. Finally, we end with a revamp of the Cardis Dragon, and this is built by Sockbread. Oh, I do love me the Cardis Dragon, so it's a pleasure to see a revamp of him. This was kind of a Christmas present for me, actually. It wasn't. They didn't say that in the email or anything, but hey, if I get to talk about the Kardas Dragon on a Bionicle Inspiration Series episode, it's like a present for me, so it's a win for me. But yeah, this looks really good, adding lots more teeth to the head design. That was a brilliant idea. I didn't think you could make the head design look more menacing, but there you go, adding more teeth certainly does achieve that. Now, giving the Kardas Dragon bigger wings is also a very welcome addition. The fact that it doesn't have cloth between the different segments of the wing, in a similar way to how that's done on basically every Ninjago Dragon set that comes out these days. Yeah, it's kind of a vibe. I like it. There's something nice about these solitary black lines with silver spikes on the end, and the fact that there's nothing connecting them. It seems very eerie and something kind of creepy about it. Almost looks like big extended fingers with claws on the ends or something. I don't know, it just adds a whole other layer of scariness to this build, and I can appreciate that. Couple that with the fact that the fingers are now posable and they've got much longer claws. Ooh, it's something very special. It's also great to see a lot more armor on the torso and around the neck as well. The big extra bit of silver there is very nice. It's cool because given that this is a mock that's using all sorts of different pieces, it isn't limited to the pieces purely from Brutaka, Axon, and Vizon and Fenrak, much like the actual original set and combiner model was. Now they've got so much more permission to play with all sorts of different pieces and really armor it up, fill in the gaps, and make this look as best as it can. Such an awesome revamp. So that's it for Abyssmas Christmas this year. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing all of the fan-submitted mocks in these episodes. And hey, if your mock didn't make it onto the show, I apologize. There were so many submissions that I got this year. Couple that with all the other submissions that I got all throughout the year as well. So I apologize, but I'll do my best to feature it in a future episode of the show. Because like I said, the submissions don't stop now that Abyssmas Christmas is over. Your mock could be featured in any number of episodes that come in the future. And hey, so why not submit your mocks right now to be featured in a future episode? You can do so through the submission email that's currently on your screen. Also check the links in the description to see all of the social media and other links for these builders that you saw today. You can also see my social media in the description below, but why not head to the other builders' social media and give them a like, give them a follow, and let them know what you think of their awesome work. Oh, and by the way, Merry Christmas, guys. I'm posting this on Christmas Day. Hope you're having a great Christmas. And if you're not having a great Christmas, I'm sorry to hear that. Reach out to me on Discord. We'll have a nice chat. Anyway, guys, happy building. Bye for now, and have a very Merry Christmas.